Hello, good evening everybody. Welcome to BCL Beyond the Boundary with myself, Simon Booth. Obviously we heard our first video today of our illustrious league chairman, John Hutchinson, who's obviously set the tone for why these interviews are taking place. This evening I'm welcomed by Steve Pellowe and Grant Cordin from Kearsley Cricket Club. Evening chaps.
Hi Simon.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good man.
Good. So obviously for the benefit of people who are here, I just want you to sort of introduce yourself really, who you are, what you do, how you're involved at your club. Steve, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, my name's Steve Pellowe. Played at Kearsley since I was 13 years old. One club man. Played first and second team. I've had the honour of captaining both teams, both senior teams. Also had the honour of winning silverware, which was great. Highlight of my career. Just kind of like making the numbers up in the twos at the minute, at the latter end of my career. And 2 or 3 years ago, took the role of club chairman, which I'm now, let's say, 3-4 years into. And it's testing times.
I can imagine. Grant?
Yeah, Grant Cordin. I've been at Kearsley for 6 years now. Managed to captain the first team for 3 of those. Just basically filling in wherever's needed now as far as cricket's concerned, due to work commitments. But yeah, I'm on the committee and the cricket committee, the running of the club, helping Steve as much as possible.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks chaps. So obviously that's sort of our introductions if people don't know who we are. So if it's all right with you, obviously I've got a set of questions to ask everyone. The BCL exec have nominated myself, I think only because there's only me who can operate the software, I think. So I think everybody...
I could do it at a pinch, I think.
So yeah, I've been thrust into the seat, so here I am. So I'll kick off with the first question, then whoever wants to pick it up, pick it up. So the first question is dead simple. What was your club's plans for the 2020 season in terms of players, club improvements, and obviously any sort of possible events in your club's social calendar?
Well, I'll probably start with that. In terms of, from a club perspective, we had a very busy April and May planned. That's kind of like bumper season for us for functions. We had a comedy night planned that Grant had arranged, and more or less every weekend we had 2 functions, which obviously for the club kind of like puts money in the coffers in readiness for the cricket season. All that's gone. The club's, obviously the club bar, which is our major revenue generating avenue, is shut, and we're left with trying to pick up the pieces really of having no revenue coming in. We had plans, we still have got plans to basically rebuild the front of the club. I mean, you'll drive past it most days, Simon. It's not the prettiest of clubs.
Every day.
But we do have quite ambitious plans to certainly improve the appearance and the facade of the club, improve the seating, and just generally we did the members' room over the winter. And like I say, we have ambitious plans to basically improve the facilities across the club and the cricket facilities. But there's been, even though we've not had any money coming in, obviously all the groundwork still's got to continue. You've still got to buy your seed, your loan, still got to service all your machinery. Just spent £1,000 with Hart Common, having the outfield fertilised and moss killed. So yeah, we've applied for this COVID grant, which we're hopefully waiting to see whether we've got that. But there's still quite a few bills going out and not much coming in, so it's put a massive dent in our plans really. But hopefully we can pick something up at the back end of the season and start to generate some cash again.
Okay.
Do you want to pick up the players side, Grant?
Yeah, we've got a cricket committee at the club that looks for players year in year out. I've got a good side together first team level, which obviously helps the second team, strengthens the second team.
Yeah.
Both teams are open to challenge for silverware this year. We've got a good core of juniors that are all getting to that age where they'll be pushing for second team cricket and obviously onto first team when they're good enough. So we are set and ready to play. We just need a bit of good news off the government, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, I think we're all waiting for the green light, aren't we? And you know, I've spoken to quite a few people already. I think I've done, this will be the 4th interview that I've done, including John. And I think everyone's sort of in the same way, that we're just ready to go. Really, we're ready to rock. So fingers crossed we can get the green light. But of course, you know, there's powers far above us three and other people that make the decisions, and we've just got to be ready when time's time.
Just picking up on the cricket again.
Yeah.
One of the areas that we think we've been quite weak on over the last few years, and not just the last 2 or 3, but in the last 10 years, is really providing quality junior coaching. And I think most clubs are kind of like waking up to this. They're seeing the success of the junior setup at clubs like Horwich and Heaton, and they're thinking really that is more the way to go. And you know, whilst we've employed top class pros for the last 2 or 3 years, they've not really been the best coaches. And this year we'd really pushed the boat out and signed an ex-Test player who had committed to coach both senior and junior players. And we had great hopes this year to get a bit of, because the pros obviously what would have been a big name, to get a bit of buzz around the club and get some juniors recruited and get the standard of coaching up. But
I've got a question coming up, Steve. So if we put a pin in that with regards to professionals, because I've got a question coming up about that. Secondly, it's probably one for both of you, but how's the current coronavirus situation hit your club? And I think we've touched on a few points already, but obviously in terms of seniors and juniors, how has it hit you in terms of, you know, communicating with the lads and keeping everyone engaged?
Well, I think the WhatsApp group has been filled with plenty more videos than it usually is, and people are finding ways to communicate with each other. I'm thinking of leaving it, to be honest. But you know, lads have stayed in contact through WhatsApp. You'll know, having played cricket, there's always good banter between the lads, and there's plenty of the banter there. But obviously, it's not the same when you're not in person, and it is difficult when you can't get that camaraderie and, you know, have a net together and have a beer together afterwards. So,
one of the points that Josh Gent made from Little Lever when I interviewed Josh, he said the same thing. You know, it'd be quite a regular thing for the lads to meet up on a Thursday night and you know, do whatever, bit of cricket, bit of practice, and then, you know, dive into a few beers and maybe go for something to eat and sort of socialise one another. And I think that's what people are finding at the moment, that, like you say, it's not just the cricket that's stopped, it's the social side and you know, getting into your clubs, and, you know, that's got a massive effect on your club's revenue.
Just a big shock to the system more than anything. You know, it's not, like you say, it's not just the cricket, it's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we've obviously had dispensation from the government to continue to work on the ground, and it has been different this year in that lads have been a lot more proactive in wanting to get involved. You know, obviously people are sat at home, some lads have been furloughed, some haven't, but you know, people are making more of an effort now to say, I'll come and paint some fences, or I'll come and trim the weeds. And you know, we've had quite a few lads on over the last 2 or 3 days, socially distancing, of course. But yeah, you know, the ground, to be fair, the ground looks as good as it has done for the last 5 years. It's looking a picture at the minute, and it's just a shame there's no cricket on there. It's
dark at the moment, but I can see through when I'm washing up, I can see right through my kitchen window, right onto the ground. So yeah, I can see you all mulling around.
Oh, you'd have come and done some painting.
No, I'll do mine at my own club, thanks. But but thanks for the offer. I'll drop a couple of brushes off this week.
Yeah, nice one.
So obviously that's the problems, and it's probably a tough question to ask this, but you know, what are you doing about it? What's being done at senior and junior level to combat the, you know, inactivity? I think is the best word to describe it.
I think at the minute there's not really much, you know, right here, right now. You can't do that much. I know we've got a couple of Lancashire players in our junior setup, and I know they have been given training plans, and Wiz, I know Wiz has been keeping young Lewis. He's been keeping him practicing on the ground. Yeah, busy. He's been keeping him busy on the ground with his bowling and his batting. But really, it's difficult. It's more about what plans you put in place now for when things do start up, because you know, we are going to face a problem that if we do play any cricket this year, it's going to be around the start of football season.
Yeah.
And if we don't play any cricket next year, how do you keep hold of kids who were maybe 50-50 for carrying on this year anyway, or might just think, well, I've not played for a year, so I'm not interested now.
Knock it on the head.
So I think it's more about putting plans in place for how we keep junior participation up for 2021, and if we can play something at the back end of the year, you know, what can we do to keep kids, you know, whether we put some festivals on or but I think the league should be having a big part in driving that.
Yeah. Next question, we're going to go on to professionals. So obviously it's something that I mentioned in the interview with John about your particular professional. I'll let you know, name the man if you want to. And obviously, you know, if we play a bit of cricket and he's here, great. If he'd have been here for the start of the season, I think it'd have been a tremendous story for the league and everybody. So professionals. So first of all, I'm going to ask you about professionals and overseas amateurs. Obviously, tell me about your own current club's plans, but there's a slight slant to it, is that what's the importance of having pros and overseas? Because a lot of people are saying, well, you know, we're not bothering them this year. We're going to save a load of money. You know, if we play any cricket, we're going to play just our own lads. You know, what effect is that going to have on clubs? So my question to you is, professionals and overseas amateurs, what's the importance of having or not having them?
It's certainly a big part as far as we're concerned. I mean, a lot of clubs are obviously, they've got people sponsoring them. You know, we've got our own sponsors, probably not as many as other clubs. So the majority of our cricket's funded by our bar. So when we've got a big name professional like we've signed this year, you know, there's a buzz around the ground, buzz around the club. People are coming on to watch a top class professional, you know, that's played all over the world.
Yeah.
So for us, it's certainly a big deal. We've not had an overseas amateur signed for this season for one reason or another, but we've certainly signed one of the best pros that, you know, that are playing in our league, and we feel that it's a really big part for us, you know, and like Stephen said before, we're bringing somebody like Jinther in to help with the juniors, to help with the seniors. Our senior practice hasn't been the greatest in previous years, so that's something that we've decided as a club that we need to target. So he's a very high class coach, so we brought him in to try and turn a corner as far as training is concerned. Keep the juniors happy, you know, with good training sessions, backed up with a couple of our own lads that are coaches as well. But yeah, it was planned for it to be driven mainly by, you know, our pro, backed up with like the management of the club, the people that are making the decisions, you know. So we were very hopeful on this year being a big year for the club.
Yeah.
And obviously this has just put a spanner in the works with it all.
It's a big punt. Sorry, Steve. Big punt from Kearsley, obviously, to sign, you know, such a high-profile player. And obviously, you know, you've just made. I wanted someone to name him, but obviously, Sri Lankan international and an ex-Test player, Ajantha Mendis, or the mystery man, whatever you want to call him. You know, to sign a player of that calibre obviously shows your cricket committee and people like Steve behind the scenes have backed that hugely with an investment, and obviously I think it'd have been a huge story for the cricket league and local cricket. A lot of lads have been chatting about the pros, who's going to be here this year, etc. So I mean, I'm going to pass to Steve, but I think it'd have been a fantastic story to have someone like that in the league.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're a little bit devastated that it's probably not going to come off. You know, in all reality, if we're very, very lucky, we might get some cricket in July. But then you've got a decision: do you bring a pro over for 8 weeks? So in all likelihood, and the way things are going, probably overseas pros won't be coming over. And I think everybody was excited at the club to meet and play cricket with such a high-profile player. And you'll know, Simon, that part of the buzz of playing cricket is you know, pitting your wits against top-class players. And, you know, plenty of times I've been out there and I've faced ex-county players. I've never been the world's greatest, but, you know, I've been out there and faced county bowlers and some international players, and you can walk off the field knowing, you know, they're a lot better than you, but you've at least challenged them in a game. And it just would have been great for him to come over and meet him and spend time with him, and you know, the lads to spend time with him and hear his stories, and you know, just see what he'd do with the kids. And it's just, you know, it's obviously we're devastated that it's not come off this year, but, you know, hopefully next year we can put that right and see what happens.
Mark Atherton said a very similar sort of thing to you, that obviously playing against these people, and you know, we all know how good they are, but if you can have your 5 minutes of fame and you can belt someone like him into the trees and what have you, and it doesn't matter if he gets you out, but if you can do something like that, it's something that you can tell your kids about. But then he sort of said exactly the same thing you about the professional outlook on cricket and having them sort of players. And obviously the West Indian lads have always been very, you know, fans' favourites at West Orton, and you know, they had sort of Carl Mayers and Marlon Welcome Goodman this year, and again, 2 cracking players. And I think, you know, with them and Mendes and other players, I mean, you know, Little Eva signed the Zimbabwe Test.
John Williams,
the Test skipper. So I mean, we're talking about serious cricketers here. It's just such a shame that it's not going to happen. Next question is T20 cricket. So I want to know, you know, how does Kearsley perceive T20 cricket? First of all, you know, what sort of stuff do you do, and how's 2020 cricket perceived at the club? And then secondly, what do you want T20 cricket to look like in the future?
Again, T20s are very. We take it as serious as any other form of cricket. It's a good money earner for the club. You know, on a Friday night we get plenty of people on, barbecue and Steve on the microphone usually playing the music, and it's a big thing for the club. We do take it as serious as possible. We seem to do quite well in the T20s, but again, you know, we get a good crowd on, which pays money over the bar, which pays for, you know, professionals like Ajintha. And it's good for the juniors, you know, to come down and see hopefully some good standards of cricket. So we particularly take it seriously, yeah.
I think Kearsley's done really well in recent years with T20, and you know, I think the introduction of coloured clothing and these coloured balls and stuff, you know, and I think Kearsley's been quite a few finals days. Obviously, we played Kearsley in the finals day at West Orton a few years ago. One of the best games of cricket I've ever been involved in. Steve, obviously from a club point of view, T20, and what do you want in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we've always pushed the T20, and I think the year it really exploded for us was in 2018, when we had the really good summer, and you know, we packed out 3 Fridays. Literally, I've never seen it as busy as that on a Friday night. You know, we followed Horwich's lead and went down the band route, and we had 3 fantastic Fridays. You know, and the good thing as well is the mostly competitive local games. So, you know, we played, walked in, Darcy Lever, Little Lever. So there were always, I wouldn't say needle, apart from one game, there definitely was needle. Yeah, there was always that little bit of edge, and they were always very competitive and, you know, thrilling games to be involved in, really.
Yeah.
I think there's been 2 or 3 things that have happened over the last couple of years that I think have made it, or have made things a little bit, took the shine off. I think the fixtures haven't been that well managed, where we've had 3 consecutive home fixtures. 3 consecutive home fixtures on week after week. So, you know, if we're planning on putting like bands on,
yeah,
to do that every week for 3 weeks, it's just a bit of overkill and a bit samey.
Yeah.
It's obviously very dependent on the weather. If there's no weather, there's no T20. And also, some clubs haven't really taken it that seriously.
Yeah.
You know, clubs like us, clubs like Horwich, clubs like yourself that rely on big crowds and, you know, revenue through the bar, they've taken it more seriously. But clubs that don't rely on crowds tend to have just not bothered with it, and, you know, not turning up. And you know, we need as a league to be committed to T20 cricket, and that needs all 14, 15, 16 clubs, however many, to be committed to that format.
Yeah, okay. Like I say, it's a bulk buy-in, isn't it? Everyone's got to buy in, and a lot of the points that you've made have been made by other sort of captains and people at other clubs. So, you know, we can't all be wrong. So that's T20 cricket. And then sort of the last question I want to ask you both is, it's a difficult one to answer, but I've got to ask everyone the same thing. What do you think coronavirus has done to cricket? And do you think it will affect us in future years to come?
Do you want to go first, Graham?
I think it's the uncertainty, isn't it, more than anything? With it being new and nobody knows much about it, we don't know where we're going to be in the next few years with it. So I think it's the uncertainty that's bothering most of us more than anything. Hopefully, we don't see much more of it.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, it's a bit of a $64,000 question. You know, depending on who you listen to, this could be this time next year. It could be as if nothing had happened and everything's back to normal. But the likelihood is it's going to affect society for many months and maybe years to come. And, you know, who's to say, you know, we've got government assistance at the moment. It's a furlough scheme, but who's to say what's going to happen in 6 months, 9 months' time? If our club isn't allowed to open until Christmas, let's say, that's an awful lot of lost revenue and an awful lot of work we've still got to do on the ground.
Yeah.
So, and then next year, if we've still got social distancing in place, then how will that affect, you know, lads getting together having a beer? How will it affect revenue behind the bar?
You could have first slit, third slit, and then gully, and then like a shortish cover.
I think we'll probably need a virtual umpire as well. But the point stands is, at the end of all this, will it make people more or less inclined to socialise? I think it will probably make most people nicer people, because they'll learn to appreciate the little things in life. But you know, are we going to be able to go in the club and have 60, 70 people packed into our members' room having a beer after the game? And are we going to be able to do it anytime soon? And without knowing that, it's impossible to say what long-term impact it may have on our club and others.
I think that is most cricket clubs, sports clubs, rugby clubs, football clubs' business model. That you have your game and then you pile into the club. You know, I mean, I can only speak for my own club, but you know, you mentioned functions. Functions are the heartbeat of a club like Kearsley, Farmworth, etc. So, like you say, if social distancing is here forever, you know, you're not going to have any parties, christenings, you know, do's. You mentioned comedy nights. You know, we've run quite a few comedy nights, and I know you guys had packed out a comedy night and you were ready to rock, and then all of a sudden, you know, this dropped on us and you've had to pull the rug.
I mean, there's got to be a situation where life has got to get back to some kind of normality.
Yeah.
You know, that's just obvious. We're already looking at designing one-way systems in the bar. You know, if it's nice weather, we could perhaps use the field for you know, to socially distance and get people on. But we really are in the hands of the numbers and the government and the ECB as to where we can go next with this. And I suppose we'll know a lot more in 4 weeks, couple of months' time. But at the minute, it's impossible to say whether we even, never mind having any cricket, but be able to go in the club this year. It's just obviously uncertainty is there.
Of course. Right. Well, thank you very much, chaps. Appreciate your time. Thanks for taking out, you know, best part of your evening to speak to myself. So obviously we'll get this uploaded to the social media streams, and, you know, if Kearsley want to share it and what have you. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, Grant Cordin and Steve Pellowe of Kearsley Cricket Club. Thanks, chaps.
Thanks,